Mastery over the world is attained by allowing nature to take its course. You cannot dominate the world by altering nature. Control appears to be the objective of our culture's ceaseless striving. We don't have to go very far to see this. For example, workers are being watched and controlled more and more at work, especially now that the technology is there to do so. In addition, governments make more efforts to monitor their population, whether through video surveillance or the suggestion of a so-called social credit system. In a strange twist, the second is a Chinese idea that is completely different from Taoism, a philosophy that came from the same continent. Taoism, in contrast to control-obsessed societies, emphasizes letting go and going with the flow. At first glance, letting go may appear to be a sign of weakness. But the Taoists say that if we know how the universe works, we can approach life more logically and effectively instead of trying to swim against the current. Therefore, the power of letting go is a sophisticated sort of strength rather than brute force. The Tao Te Ching, authored by Lao Tzu, a mysterious sage, is the primary Taoist scripture. There are innumerable possible interpretations of this text. One way to view it is as a ruler's guidance. Lao Tzu emphasizes not ruling in the Tao Te Ching section on the government, comparing leading a nation to frying a little fish, where excessive prodding ruins the flesh. He said that when a monarch tightens his grip on the populace, all kinds of undesirable consequences will ensue. People become suspicious of one another when the government is too condescending, and they rebel when the government is too intrusive. People will become whole when a leader is inconspicuous and acts with integrity, giving them the room to flourish naturally. Lao Tzu makes it clear that he supports a passive style of government, which is true not only for running a country, but also for running our own lives. Because letting go is essential for allowing nature to do its work on any level. In this video, I'll show how Taoism shows the power of letting go in many different ways. The first is the practice of inaction. The Taoist idea of Wu Wei can be described as effort in action, or the so-called flow state, as well as non-doing, or knowing when to act and when not to act. When we take a serious look at ourselves, we see that the drive for control dominates many aspects of our lives. We want to be in charge of our pets, our kids, our gardens, our video games, our partners in some cases, and most importantly, our future. Now, control is not always undesirable. We must exert some degree of impact on the environment in order to exist. Self-control, in particular, can steer us in a healthy way. Without control, it seems likely that human civilization would never have arisen. However, too much of it will not lead us anywhere. It appears that we consistently undervalue the natural elements that shape our daily lives. We cannot control everything, and when we stop trying to control them, many things occur. Consider a tree as an example. We could plant it, water it, fertilize it, and make sure it gets enough sunlight. But further involvement will only harm the process because we are interfering with nature's work. Another illustration is attraction. The first step in attracting someone is to reveal our existence, so that the person we wish to attract is aware that we exist. Then, either attraction occurs or it does not. When the attraction is present, it is simple to lose it by engaging in excessive activity. We cannot control the inherent phenomenon of attraction. It cannot be enforced at all. Instead, it must expand or spontaneously erupt. And there's only one way to allow the seed of attraction to develop into a lovely tree, and that is to do nothing more than water it occasionally. The absence of sound makes the heart grow fonder. Letting go is therefore essential in partnerships, because by letting go, we make room for the universe's forces to unfold. For instance, after a fight, anger naturally subsides, and when confidence is broken, rehabilitation cannot be forced. It must occur naturally. Therefore, letting go distinguishes control from allowance. The second step consists of change acceptance. The Taoists were very aware that life is always moving between opposites, such as between high and low, light and dark, and yin and yang. There is little we can do about it, so the most effective course of action is to simply ride the waves of existence. Life's progression and transformations are inevitable, yet we observe so many individuals clinging to their conditions. In the metaphor of the river stream, they cling to a branch or rock, afraid to let go because they desire total control over their situation. They simply lack faith in the cosmos. The result of this is a rigorous way of living. They miss out on a lot of pleasure and opportunities for constructive change as they watch life pass them by. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu wrote, "The living are flexible and yielding, while the dead are rigid and unyielding. The living are supple and delicate, whereas the dead are brittle and dry." End quote. There are individuals that swim against the current as well. They are the greatest consumers of energy. Perhaps they sense honor and goodness in taking a position in life that is exceedingly divisive. Constantly resisting the unfolding of the cosmos, however, is an ineffective way of life and is likely to leave one exhausted and dissatisfied. This refusal to accept things as they are is also the reason why individuals battle against themselves. People engage in a struggle against their natural nature as a result of social pressures, rather than embracing the characteristics that nature has endowed them with. We could say, follow your strengths rather than attempt to correct your weaknesses. Acceptance of change pertains to both uselessness and usefulness. The Taoist philosopher Zungazi knew that usefulness depends on that situation. He told the story of a merchant who tried to sell clothes to a tribe whose members were covered in tattoos and often walked around shirtless to show them off. Shirts are useless to them, but to us, or at least the majority of us, they are not at all useless. Usefulness and utility are relative and should not be addressed rigidly. For example, when you live in New York, having a car is less useful than when you live in a rural area 50 kilometers from the nearest village. So we should be willing to give up what isn't worth it in a given situation and take what is. This is how we make change an ally rather than an adversary. Number 3 is failure to focus on outcomes. In the same way that the Stoics did, the Taoists said that worrying about the future hurts us. Too much focus on the future causes anxiety. The greater our yearning for an uncontrollable outcome, the less we cherish the only thing we have, which is the current now. Zungazi goes a step further by stating that the more we value something external, the worse our performance in the present becomes. He talks about an archer who loses his ability to shoot when he looks too hard at the prize. Those who are trying to win a piece of earthenware use all their skills. If the prize is a brass buckle, he shoots with trepidation. If the award is gold, he shoots as if blind. The archer's skill is the same in all 3 situations, but in the last 2 he is worried and thinks that the prize is the most important thing. Everyone who places their focus on the external demonstrates their own incompetence. End quote. Now, this does not imply that individuals who desire external things are foolish. It means that when we worry about the future, we can't do anything in the here and now. This principle underlies the flow state, observed in pursuits such as athletics, art, and dancing. When we are in the flow state, we are so engrossed in the activity at hand that we forget all about the future, as though the dance were dancing itself. The final one is letting go of excess. In a culture where prestige is of the utmost importance, everyone desires to be at the top. Wu Wei collectively agreed that high status is preferable and low status is awful, not because it is necessarily the greatest place to be. This goes along with a shared desire for the first and a dislike for the second. However, the highest trees capture the most wind. And when we are at the top, it requires a huge amount of effort to remain there, since everyone wants your place. It is stressful compared to living in the lower regions, where there is less rivalry, fewer opponents, and generally less effort. However, the opposite extreme is a place of deprivation. If we seek the absolute bottom on purpose, we become ascetics. There is still a strong attachment, but it is now in a different way, the attachment to lack. What do we generally require, is a question we might ask ourselves. Zungazi noted that a forest-nesting bird needs little more than a single branch. A mouse that drinks from the pond consumes no more than a stomachful. By focusing on what we require and letting go of excess, we prevent our possessions from becoming a prison, allowing us to travel light. Epicurus was noticed that the most important things in life are easy to get, and that living a moderate life is the best way to be happy. It is an easy and sustainable path. According to Lao Tzu, those who practice moderation are already on the way to Tao. End quote. When we cease our efforts, we make room for nature to flourish. By putting your faith in the universe and realizing that it is always changing, you can become loose and flexible instead of stiff and hard. The ability to let go allows us to float along the stream without clinging to rocks and branches, and to rid ourselves of unnecessary burdens so that we can navigate life with minimal effort. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give it a like, thumbs up, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day.